еще раз, что мне сейчас делать?
So this is the wake-up call, like every year. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, before opening the General Assembly, we have the pleasure to welcome two very distinguished guest speakers. We have Mr. Igor Levitin, advisor to the Russian President, Mr. Vladimir Putin, and we have Mr. Stanislav Pozdniakov, who is the President of the National Olympic Committee of Russia. And I would like to invite now Mr. Levitin to address our General Assembly. The floor is yours, Your Excellency.
Добрый день, уважаемые дамы и господа. Разрешите зачитать приветствие президента Российской Федерации участникам Генеральной Ассамблеи Международной Федерации конного спорта. Уважаемый господин де Вос, уважаемые члены Международной Федерации конного спорта, уважаемые друзья, рад приветствовать вас по случаю открытия в Москве Генеральной Ассамблеи Международной Федерации конного спорта. Ваша представительная организация, объединяющая свыше 130 национальных федераций, на протяжении многих лет вносит важный вклад в популяризацию конного спорта, содействует созданию равных возможностей для проведения тренировок и соревнований. Отмечу, что Россия принимает у себя Генеральную Ассамблею впервые. И вижу в этом признание большого авторитета Федерации конного спорта России в мировом спортивном сообществе, ее значимой роли в приобщении людей разных возрастов к ценностям здорового и активного образа жизни, их всестороннем духовном и физическом развитии. Уверен, что Ассамблея пройдет в плодотворном ключе, будет способствовать наращиванию конструктивного международного взаимодействия в сфере спорта высших достижений и массовой физической культуры. И, конечно, послужит дальнейшему укреплению сотрудничества Международной Федерации конного спорта с Федерацией конного спорта России. Желаю вам успешной работы и самых добрых впечатлений от встречи. Президент России Владимир Путин. Спасибо. Спасибо.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And now we have the pleasure to invite the President of the National Olympic Committee, Mr. Stanislav Wozniacki, to the floor. Please, the floor is yours.
Dear President, dear delegates, dear friends, on behalf of Russian Olympic Committee, I would like to welcome all delegates, organizers, and guests of the International Equestrian Federation General Assembly, held here in Russia for the first time. The FEI General Assembly brought to Moscow the representatives of the record-breaking number of countries, which is a clear evidence of interest of our country and the acknowledgement of a positive trend in development of Russian equestrian sport. Leaders of the Federation and the representatives of the equestrian industry use this high-profile platform to discuss current issues and take strategic decisions that shape the development of the sport worldwide. Just recently, we discussed with Mr. President de Vos and Madame Sechina the opportunities to promote and popularize the equestrian sport. I am delighted to note that our views coincide on many points and we are ready for strong cooperation. I am confident that this Assembly will become a landmark event for the further development of one of the oldest sports of the Olympic program, and will help to strengthen existing partnerships and forge new business connections. And equally important, it will draw the attention of the general public to the prestigious and noble sport. Highly appreciating the significance of this event, I wished all participants successful and fruitful work here in the Assembly. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues and friends. We have been welcomed here with open arms, and before I go any further, I would like to thank again Mr. Igor Levitin, advisor to Russian President Vladimir Putin, and Stanislav Pozdniakov, President of the Russian National Olympic Committee, for taking the time for being here with us. We have had some productive days in Moscow already, and as you have may noticed, with the very full meeting rooms, there are a record number of participants here, 337 to be exact, in this room. We have 91 national federations attending in person and an additional 29 represented by proxy, as well as 10 stakeholder associations and over 40 observers and media. As I said, this is a new record and it demonstrates just how passionate our community is. As you know, this General Assembly is live streamed, but before I delve into some of the decisions ahead of us, let's take first a look back at 2019. It has been a very exciting year, with major regional and continental championships, games and stunning finals amongst the thousands of events across all our disciplines and age categories. And once again, we've hit a new record in terms of the number of international events. As you would expect, the year before an Olympic and Paralympic Games, we had dedicated qualifiers for national teams to secure their place at Tokyo 2020. The competition was tough, but I'm happy to report all team slots have been filled already for the Olympics, and the qualification process is underway still for the Paralympics. We have 20 teams in jumping and 15 teams both in dressage and eventing. And these team slots have been shared amongst 28 nations, with a select few qualifying teams in all 3 Olympic disciplines. And I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate Australia, Brazil, Germany, Great Britain, Ireland, Sweden and the USA, who compete and who will compete against the host nation Japan in the 3 Olympic disciplines. For Ireland, this will be a particularly memorable edition, as it is the first time that they have qualified a dressage team for the Olympic Games. Other first-timers include Thailand and China, both sending eventing teams, with China also having qualified a jumping team. Well done to all of these teams, the first-timers and the regulars. This is a huge achievement, and there are still many more nations to be added to the final count, with individual quota slots to be filled. New nations and more nations competing at the Olympic Games is a direct result of the new Olympic formats. In 2016, the new Olympic formats were approved by the FEI General Assembly in Tokyo with a large majority of 96 national federations. The reason we took this decision is Thomas Bach's Olympic Agenda 2020. The IOC was adamant that our product had to adapt. It was change or be changed, and as always, we went for a proactive approach. So there were 2 key goals we set ourselves for the new formats. Firstly, to allow more nations to take part, and secondly, to make our events more exciting and appealing to a broader audience with more broadcast-friendly formats. London 2012 was the first time that all sports were evaluated by the IOC based upon media coverage, among other things, and in an ever more competitive world, we were made very aware that we needed to improve our media figures. We can only do this by having more nations and regions competing in our events, because viewers in these countries, television and digital, will then tune in to our sport and support their athletes. The Olympic Games have always been about national pride, and this is the key to the hearts of many new fans. In Tokyo, we will be evaluated again, and it is vital we improve our figures in order to further consolidate our position in the Olympic program. We have 3 new federations seeking affiliation to this General Assembly. Our sport is growing, and this is our opportunity to fuel that growth. We need to acknowledge this growth and provide more avenues and Olympic dreams for nations in the framework of universality. We need to give these new formats a chance and focus on the positives. Failure is not an option. This is why we have tested them in Hagen for jumping and dressage, and at several eventing fixtures, so that we can fine-tune the details and ensure that from a technical perspective they are faultless. And yes, these new formats will give rise to a new kind of competition. And yes, chefs d'équipes will need to adapt their strategies to the fact that there is no drop score. But this is not new at the Olympic Games. From 1928 to 1968, the same formats of 3 athletes with no drop score were applied in the Olympic Games. What is important here is that we are open-minded. We need to look at the excitement that the new formats will bring. And for those who think that there is a horse welfare issue, I want to remind you that these new formats were conditional on the introduction of greater substitution opportunities. And yes, we are happy that the IOC understood and accepted our conditions. There is one way forward, and that is to work together. National federations, chefs d'équipes, and athletes, together we can make these formats a success at the Olympic Games. And of course, we will evaluate every aspect of the formats after the Games and objectively analyze the outcomes. When it comes to growth and production figures, we have been riding on a wave of success, with increased number of events and registered athletes for over a decade. We are fortunate to be in this position because it's not the case for all sports. But clearly, we are doing something right. 2019 confirms this upward trend. And I'm pleased to say that alongside our sporting figures, digital media and broadcast numbers are also rising steadily. In a competitive sporting and entertainment industry, this is particularly encouraging. We are producing more news and more stories, and we are also reaching more fans, a wider demographic, and generally creating a buzz. All this growth is directly linked to a positive financial report, and I'm pleased to say that this has allowed us again to use the operational budget to cover all our FEI solidarity programs and to put aside again an additional $1 million in the Solidarity Fund. As chair of FEI Solidarity, I could not be more delighted with the progress that has been made in recent years. The portfolio of programs on offer is increasing, as are the requests, and we are now catering to over 90 national federations through technical, financial, and consultancy services. Every year, more programs are delivered across the 4 pillars of FEI Solidarity. Like all General Assemblies, we have also some very important issues and decisions to make with regard to the future. And the most important topic, of course, is endurance. I would like to take this opportunity to once again thank the Temporary Endurance Committee for all the hard work they have been doing. This has been a difficult and lengthy process, generating a lot of debate and passionate discussions. But as you have seen, the committee has been attentive to the concerns of the community and taken on board many comments and suggestions they received after the publication of the first draft of the proposed rules. Consultation is integral to the FEI governance process, but here I would like to reiterate that we cannot compromise on horse welfare, and we have to be accountable for our actions as decision makers. We have the responsibility to uphold the values of our sport, and then, as I've said on several occasions, we need to bring horsemanship back to this discipline. And are these rules perfect? Probably not. Nothing is perfect in this world, regretfully. But at least they address the issues that we want to address and that we need to address. If we want to remain credible and if we want endurance to inspire admiration for the effort and the partnership, then we need to change. Let's not forget the many positive cases, the fractures, the fatalities. This is unacceptable and damages the image of endurance and all the remarkable people in the community who are committed to promoting the very best of this sport. And let's not be mistaken, the negative reputation of endurance also impacts our other disciplines and our organization in general. We know that the proposed rules are built on horse welfare and fairness, and I'm urging you to support them so that we can start rebuilding a future for endurance set on solid foundations, and do this together. And last of all, the last big topic which we felt was important to put on the agenda some time ago is the future of reining. As you know, we have had challenges from a governance perspective, and despite our efforts, we were not getting anywhere. Reining is still a small discipline within the FEI, but there is a much larger community out there, and the future of reining within the FEI is very much linked to our ability to reach consensus and work hand in hand with the NRHA. We reached only a couple of days ago an agreement with NRHA, which allows us to present you today several options. But we must be clear. If we decide today to keep reining as an FEI discipline, there are clear conditions and KPIs that need to be met. We have been very transparent with all of you, and it's now up to you to make the right decision. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, as you can see, we have a very important agenda, and the decisions we make here today will have lasting repercussions in the equestrian world and those connected to our sport. I would like to thank everybody who has contributed wholeheartedly to this General Assembly, and that's you, the national federations and stakeholders, with all your valuable comments in a decision-making process that is unique in the sports world. We are a service organization, and I would also like to thank the FEI staff, who works tirelessly to make all this happen and have taken this motto to heart in all their endeavors. I also want to thank again the national federations and stakeholders for their support and valuable input, and especially for the quality of the debates yesterday and before. Last but not least, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude for our Russian friends, the Russian Equestrian Federation and its president, Mrs. Marina Sechina, without whom we would not be here today. And now, before we start, let us take a moment of silence to remember the people we lost over the last year, and that will be remembered for their contribution to our sport and community. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I would now give the floor to our Secretary General to take us to the proceedings. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. President, board members, delegates, distinguished guests, and members of the press and media. There are 134 national federations in total. Therefore, to reach a quorum, we required 68 national federations. We're happy to announce that, of course, a quorum has been reached, and we have a total of 119 national federations represented. 91 are here present today, and there are 28 proxies for the moment. We will provide you a further update later on. Please remember that this General Assembly is transmitted live on FEIT, and that the speaking rights are given to those delegates whose names appear on the power of attorney. There are translation boxes in Arabic, French, Spanish, and Russian for those who need it. National federations will have received also voting cards at the time of the registration. Green is in favor, red is opposed, and white is abstention. Moving on, I would like to propose the following scrutineers for the Extraordinary General Assembly and the Ordinary General Assembly. As chair, we have Cristina Aboudaye from Jordan. As member, we have Simone Perillo from Italy. And as member as well, we have Wessel Strauss from South Africa. May I have your approval, please? Please show of green cards. Many thanks. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Very good. Congratulations. You have quite a bit of work to do today. Okay. Then moving on then to the modifications of the statutes. As we mentioned yesterday during the rule session for reigning, we will have two separate votes. The first vote will be, do you approve to keep reigning in the FEI? The second vote, then, would ask for the modifications of the statutes to include reigning, of course, in the FEI. So to begin with, do you approve to keep reigning in the FEI? May I see anybody in favor? Yes? Anyone against? No one against? Any abstentions? No abstentions. Welcome back, reigning. Very happy for you, Sven. Now we will proceed with the rest of the modifications to the statutes. So do you now approve the proposed modifications to the FEI statutes? All those in favor, please. Very good. Anyone against? No one is against. Any abstentions? Very good. So the statutes are approved. Thank you very much for that. So now we move on to the Ordinary General Assembly. We have had the opening of our president already, so I think no need to do that again. The quorum, well, we could. The quorum, I've already spoken about it, so the election of scrutineers, you've done that as well. So then we move on to membership. So 4.1. So you will have seen that the board has reviewed the applications received from Bahamas, which would be joining Regional Group 4, Mongolia, Regional Group 7, and then Ivory Coast, which would be joining Regional Group 9. You have in your papers detailed reports, which includes the visits of the chairs of the relative regional groups to these places. And this was also discussed with the FEI board. The board is in favor of the membership of these three federations, as they meet all the criteria set out for them. So we will now ask for your approval, first by federation. Maybe, perhaps, yes, thank you very much. Are there any comments concerning the membership of any of these national federations? You have a comment? Yes.
My name is Tore Sandum. I represent the Norwegian Federation. I have no comments to the three new members, but in order to fall in line with other international federations, I think that FEI maybe could implement some new criteria for FEI memberships. A national federation should prove its activity by competing in or for level or in the World Championships or the Olympic Games. And it must have a minimum numbers of athletes members, as happen in all other international federations. I also think it's important for the credibility of our sport and for our international federation, and in the eyes of IOC, the press and the public. So I will ask the board to note this and maybe put that into criteria for next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. I would like to say two things. First of all, the membership criteria guidelines have already been adapted a couple of years ago, 2 years ago to be exact. So they are not now, they are much more detailed and there is a much clearer process. I'm a little bit worried when you say that you need to compete in world championships, because if we look at the participation of the member federation in world championships, there are many federations that would not be member of the FEI anymore. So we need to be careful. Secondly, let's not forget that there is the criteria of universality, and that also this is one of the criteria, priorities set out by the International Olympic Committee. And I understand it's always difficult to find a balance between different interests, but I would like to invite you to submit your proposal in writing to the board, and then the board can discuss this. Thank you very much.
So do we have Bermuda?
I would just like to mirror what you've said, Mr. President. As a small nation that does compete at World Championships for Bermuda, I think a large part of what the FEI offers is development for universality of countries, but equally the opportunity for smaller nations to work towards the aspirational goals of the larger. So I would respectfully disagree with the previous comment. Thank you.
Good, but I propose we are not going to start that debate here. Maybe we can do one day a session on it, but we understand the concerns of both parties. I think we believe that we try to find a good balance. That's also why we do a visit to these candidates, and we just do not accepting like that. We ask, there are strict criteria on the statutes, the governance of the organization, the activities, having equestrian installations. But it's very difficult to ask from a new member to be participating in world championships, because you cannot do that. You can only do that if you are a member. So it's a bit like the chicken and the egg. But we look forward to receive your comments on this, and I propose that we now go over to a vote for each of these new members. Thank you.
Thank you. So if there are no further comments, then we will ask for your approval for the membership affiliation for Bahamas. May I see your approval, please? Okay, thank you. Anyone against? No one against. Any abstentions? No abstentions. So congratulations to Bahamas. Peter, can I? Congratulate him. We have Peter Vasilov here, who is the executive board member of the National Federation.
As a part of a good tradition, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you and to hand over to you the flag of the FEI as well as a certificate of affiliation. Congratulations.
So now we will proceed with the membership affiliation of Mongolia. May I have your approval for the affiliation of Mongolia, which would belong to Group 8? Many thanks. Anyone against? No one is against. Any abstentions? No abstentions. Welcome back, Mongolia. May I call Manlajay, Sulumun Manlajay to meet the President. Thank you very much. Many thanks. So now we have Côte d'Ivoire. May I ask for your approval for the membership of Côte d'Ivoire, please? Many thanks. Perfect. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Côte d'Ivoire. Stéphane Guenin, President of the National Federation. Now we move down to point 4.2, which is a suspension. Regrettably, we do have a suspension to announce, and that is of Brunei for the non-payment of their annual subscription. But as you know, upon payment, they will become members in good standing again. Moving on to point 4.3, Ukrainian National Federation Regional Group change. As you will know, Ukraine has asked to change from Group 3 to the EEF Regional Group. In line with the statutes, it is up to the General Assembly to agree to this change. Both regional groups are happy with this change, as is the board. So we would ask for your approval for Ukraine to change from Group 3 to Regional Group EEF. Many thanks. Anyone against? Any abstentions? So the change has been made. The next point is the approval of the minutes of the General Assembly 2018. May I ask for your approval, please? Okay. Marina, you're against the minutes. You're not against the minutes. Okay. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Okay, these minutes are approved. And then we move on to the approval of the annual report for 2018. These are on the website. Can I have your approval as well, please? You're scared to show your card now, Marina. Okay. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Then this is approved. And now we move on to point 7, and points 7 through 13. I'm asking my Chief Financial Officer, Claude Prat, to take us through these points. Thank you.
Mr. President, members of the board, dear delegates, dear colleagues, today's presentation will have 3 chapters. We will first go through the audited financial statements for 2018. Then I will give the floor to Brian Mangan for the audit and compliance report. And we will move on with the budget for 2020. The audited financial statements are in the Annex 7 of your document. You will find in those documents also more detailed management comments to the numbers we're going to look at today. The net revenues for 2018 amounted to 59,573,000 Swiss francs. The expenses to 58,849,000 Swiss francs for a net profit of 724,000 Swiss francs. There are some differences with the budgets that I would like to explain here. First, in commercial revenues, they are higher by 3 million Swiss francs, and this is due to an exchange of invoice we do with our top partner, Longines, who is located in Switzerland, and it concerns value-in-kind sponsorship, and it allows our sponsor to recover the VAT in Switzerland. This additional revenue is mirrored in the expense by an invoice of the same amount and is therefore neutral to the financial statements. On the operational revenues, the calendar fees and organizing dues are 1,173,000 higher than budget, and this is mainly a function of having a conservative budget on this number. The hosting fees in 2018 were 1,400,000 higher than budget, and this comes from a release of an invoice that we had with the organizer of the WEG 2018, with Bromont. In the host agreement, there was a planned payment for the hosting fees, and we cashed that invoice in 2016. And this amount was non-refundable, and we released it in the year of the WEG. The anti-doping and welfare generated 408,000 additional income, mainly a function of being conservative on the budget, and also a higher number of competition generating revenues in that section. You will also notice that in the non-operational revenue, there is quite a big number on our provision release for 4,228,000. This is the release of reserves we had built up over the years leading up to the WEG 2018, where we had some unexpected expenses to pay for. And we were very happy to be able to release those reserves. I will come later into the details of the expenses. Moving on to the expenses for 2018, again in commercial expenses, the value-in-kind exchange of invoice with our top partner for 3 million. The operational expenses were 2 million Swiss francs below budget. There are a few explanations for that. The underspent happened in education for 615,000. This is due to a delayed implementation in education program, and that was partly due to the change we have in that department with hiring a new director. There were some savings also in the vet research for 264,000, anti-doping and welfare 232,000, and solidarity 636,000. I will come back later to that when I go into the details of the financial statements. In the general and administration expenses, that's where you have, in the other expense section, you have those expenses that were unexpected in relation with WEG. The main items were the timekeeping for 1.3 million Swiss franc, the preparation of the endurance trails, 969,000. The FEI also picked up the payment to the officials per diems for 410,000. And there was also a board-approved subsidy for driving for 325,000. Last year, I had a few delegates that asked me a little bit more details on the commercial expenses, and I have prepared this graph here to show you what are the main blocks in the commercial expenses. So the total commercial expenses are at 27,582,000, and you can see that the big chunk of it, 21,527,000, is related to sponsorship, namely prize money and contribution to the organizers for 19 million, a little bit of activation and sponsorship travel for 2,433,000. The other big block in there is the broadcast and marketing for 6 million, where the big chunk there is the TV production, the production of the content on the apps, the video productions, and all these fun things that you see on the website for 5 million Swiss franc, and a little bit of marketing and licensing expenses for 951,000 Swiss franc. Another aspect that I would like to mention in these financial results, in 2018, we had a negative performance on the financial portfolio. This amounted to 2,545,000. It happened in the last month of 2018. It was consequent to the imposition of tariffs by the USA on China imports, and the consequence of that was a meltdown on the financial markets. In 2019, as October 1st, we completely recovered that loss as the portfolio has generated 2,646,000 profit. And I have a little graph here that shows a little bit what happened. You can see the green curve, which represents the world equities, and the very last month to the right, where you see it tumbling. That's what happened in December. The same thing with the commodities. They ended up at minus 12%. And we have a conservative approach in managing the portfolio, and this is represented by the black line, which is the results of the FEI portfolio. And you can see it is a loss, but it is a loss that is much smaller than what the markets were at the time. So the portfolio generated a minus 5% return, whereas markets were between minus 10 and minus 12% for the year. In spite of this bad news on the portfolio, and thanks to having sufficient reserves built with the WEG, the FEI was able to allocate surplus. And as mentioned by our president earlier, we were able to allocate 1 million Swiss francs to the Solidarity Fund. And on top of that, the FEI picked up on its own expenses the Solidarity Project's expenses for 2018. So in effect, we pushed back 1.5 million Swiss francs into the Solidarity Fund. Are there any questions to those financial statements? If that is not the case, then I will ask the General Assembly to approve the numbers as presented. May I see your green cards, please? Anybody against? Any abstention? So the numbers are approved. Thank you. I will now leave the floor to Brian Mangan for the presentation of the audit and compliance report, which you will find in Annex 8 of your document.
Mr. President, Madam Secretary General, board colleagues, delegates and friends. First, I would like to thank my colleagues, Janice Shardlow from Great Britain and Vicky Glynn from New Zealand, and also the team at FEI headquarters in Lausanne, who continue to work with a culture of compliance with the statutes, regulations and the law. We had a very good meeting with the external auditors, PwC, who said they were very satisfied with all aspects of the financial department. The organisation carries out its current mission effectively. It manages its risks and prepares for future challenges. The FEI has scored very well in governance surveys of sporting bodies. So, while serving you, the members, very well, I think, all stakeholders are treated with respect. My full report is in your papers, and I thank you for your attention.
Moving on, I will ask now the General Assembly to give the release to the Board and the Secretary General for the 2018 accounts. Everybody agreeing, please show your green card. Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstention? Thank you. I now need to have the approval of the General Assembly to appoint the FEI auditors for 2019. We're proposing PricewaterhouseCoopers in Lausanne. All in favor? Could you please show your green card? Anybody against? Any abstention? Thank you. The financial charges are in Annex 11 of your documents. They are unchanged for 2020, and they require the approval of the General Assembly. If you agree with those financial charges, please show your green cards. Anybody against? Any abstention? Thank you. We are now moving to the budget for 2020. The budget is in the Annex 13 of your documents, and also in there you will have more detailed comments on the numbers. I will just highlight a few major items. The revenues for 2020 are expected to reach 30,232,000, and this number next year will be affected by the implementation of the new contract with our sponsor, Longines, for the North American League. In the operational revenues, the calendar fees and organizing dues, as well as the anti-doping and welfare, those numbers have been built on historical figures for the purpose of the budget. There's one big item that I would like to mention in the non-operational revenue. Next year will be an Olympic year, and we will be cashing the contribution from the IOC for the Games in 2020. For the purpose of the budget, we have included 12,825,000 in the budget, which is the number we cashed in 2016. We have no way to know in advance how much we will have, so for the sake of prudence, we took the same number as in 2016. In the non-operational revenues, you have also a section that's called contribution from funds. And this amount, 2,461,000, represents the spending that will be paid by FEI funds, namely the solidarity, education, and for next year there are a few expenses related to Tokyo 2020 that will be paid by the Olympic Fund. Moving on to the commercial expenses, they will reach 23,208,000 for next year. And in commercial expenses, the main section that will be affected are the broadcast expenses that are going up. And the reason for that is the contractual commitment we have with our top sponsor, Longines, with the North American League, where we committed to do some television time buy in relations with the North American League series. In the operational expenses, there is mainly one item there that I would like to mention is the professional fee and consulting. reaching 4,717,000 for next year. It is a sizable increase compared to last year. And this is due to various IT projects that we have ongoing with the FEI. You have a list of all these projects, a very detailed list in the comments of the budget. There are also some consulting contracts with Tokyo 2020, where we have consulting for footing advising, footing testing, discipline managers in relations with the Olympic Games. The anti-doping and welfare, 4,244,000, also has a sizable increase for next year in the expense. The increase is about 620,000, and this is related to the increased planned testing for human anti-doping in 2020. You will notice, however, that the anti-doping and welfare expenses, 4,244,000, are in line with the revenues generated by that section. In the general and administration expenses, staff charges are going up a little bit. There are 2 additions in 2020 in the staff, one in the legal department and another one in the veterinary department, and those 2 additions have been approved by the executive board back in October. There will be some additional travel and entertainment expenses for next year. The Olympic Games are in Tokyo. It's a very expensive place to go and a very expensive place to stay. And the General Assembly for next year will be in South Africa, so that will also generate additional costs for the FEI. The last amount that I would like to mention in your documents is the allocation to fund. You see quite a big number in there. That's the amount we will cash from the IOC in 2020, and this will be moved into a fund, and it will be released over the next Olympic period, over the next 4 years, in 4 equal installments. This concludes my presentations for the Budget 2020. Are there any questions? If that is not the case, may I have the approval of the General Assembly for this budget? Could you please show your green cards? Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstention? I thank you very much. This concludes the finance presentation for the 2019 General Assembly.
Okay. Thank you for that. So moving on then, we have 14.1, which is periodical rules revision. You will have heard in the session, it's more of a policy that we want to do, and we felt from the session that we had your endorsement. But we wanted just to repeat this message. Can we have your endorsement for this new revision process when it comes to the rules? Are you happy with that? Okay, I don't have to ask for your approval. I'm just really looking for your happiness in this situation. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. And then we move on to general regulations. So general regulations, as you know, and this was again discussed yesterday, Articles 103 and 108 have been withdrawn from the proposal. Okay, so they're no longer on the table. But we do have a vote to do, not in reference to these articles, but rather the mandatory protective headgear requirement. As it was discussed yesterday, there are 2 ways of going forward. One is whether this will be, the date of implementation will be the 1st of January 2020 or 2021. So we're going to have 2 separate votes. Okay? So the first vote is implementation of the mandatory headgear as of the 1st of January 2020. Okay, so we all understand there's 2 votes, one either for 2020 or 2021. What do you prefer? Do you prefer 2020? Those in favor of 2020, please show your approval. 2? Okay, wait, 2. Then those not in favor of 2020, okay. Your red cards if you're not, okay. Those against 2020? Okay, that's very clear. And any abstentions, just for the sake of one abstention? Okay, one abstention, 2 abstentions. 2 abstentions. Okay, so then, thank you for that. Then we will just formally vote now the mandatory protective headgear requirement as of 2021. Okay, so yes. Those in favor are showing their green cards. Okay, and those against? No one is against. Any abstentions? No longer any abstentions. Okay, so this has been approved. So it will be as of 2021. All right? Then, yeah, that's it for the general. This is another slide. Yeah. So now we need to propose the rest of the proposals without, of course, Article 103 and 108. Now that we know that the headgear is implementable as of 21, do you approve the proposed modifications to the general regulations? Many thanks. Anyone against? No one is against. Any abstentions? No abstentions. So the general regulations are approved. Thank you very much. So we will now jump to jumping. And I will give the hand to Stefan Ellenbroch, the chair. Stefan?
Thank you, Sabrina. Mr. President, Madam Secretary General, dear delegates, 2019 has been and still is really a busy year for the Jumping Committee with a lot of work, some challenges, and which is even more important, with a lot of positive experiences. So I want to take the opportunity to thank all the members of the Jumping Committee, and a special thank also goes to the Jumping Department and, of course, to the captain, but as well to Debbie Ripplinger, not only for dealing with all this work, but also for leading this motivated and effective team in the Jumping Department. You have received my activity report with your documents. Are there any comments or questions on the activity report of the FEI Jumping Committee? If there are no questions, may I ask you for your approval? Thank you very much. Anybody against? Abstentions? Thank you. There was a long list of decisions to be taken by the FEI board, and during the first board meeting on Saturday, the board made already decisions and approved the following rules. Rules for the FEI Jumping Nations Cup Youth Rules 2020, the FEI Jumping Ponies Trophy Rules for 2020, the Jumping Clash Team Challenge Series Rules, the EEM Speed Challenge Series Rules, the Longines Global Champions Tour Rules 2020, and the Longines Masters Series Rules. This afternoon, after the conclusion of the General Assembly, the board will make decisions on 3 open rule sets, and these are the Longines FEI Nations Cup rules for 2020, the EEF Jumping Nations Cup Series and rules for 2020, and finally the Global Champions League rules 2020. We had a rule session yesterday where we gave you the opportunity to make comments or ask questions concerning the jumping rules. As there were not too many questions yesterday, I assume that overnight you might not have really more comments now. Are there any comments or any further questions? If not, may I ask you for your approval for the 2020 FEI jumping rules? Thank you very much. Anybody against? Abstentions? Then I thank you for the approval of all the points related to jumping, and it goes back to Sabrina. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stefan. Just a little update regarding the national federations present or represented. We now have a total of 120 with 91 present and 29 proxies, just to keep you updated. Thank you very much. So then we move on to dressage. Frank Eppermann, Mr. Chair.
Mr. President, dear colleagues of the board, dear delegates, it's a pleasure to say something about dressage. It was a good but quiet year, and that's good for dressage. You have seen my report. A very important issue is the dressage judging. You know, we had a working group. They did fantastic work in the last 2 years. The report was approved by the board, and now it's a task of the dressage committee to bring this all in, to implement all these proposals. So that's really promising. Another issue in the report, I mentioned the idea to come with some new tests, some change. Some small changes will come in force already in 1st of January 2020. And the famous discussion about the short Grand Prix test. I was very surprised myself that the whole dressage community agreed to one test. It was all noses in the same direction. But this test will come in force after the Olympic Games, so not before. We will have a short test now at the Olympia show in London, but this will not come in. Will not be used before the Olympic Games. And another important issue is, of course, the Nations Cup in dressage. We would like to ask you to look if you could schedule a Nations Cup for dressage. We would like to have more competitions. So a question to you federations, it would be nice to see more CDOs worldwide. An interesting thing is that in dressage it looks a bit a traditional sport, but we are very open for new technical tools. We did already some tests and we make some really steps forward, and it's interesting to use modern technology in our sport. It's really very interesting. For next year we have a lot of work to do and we look forward, and I would like to thank my colleagues from the committee. They did a fantastic job, especially the outgoing member Klaus Reuser. And of course, headquarters, they tried to coordinate everything. Thanks to Bettina and her team for all the good work. And that's at the moment the report for dressage for 2019. Are there any questions about the report? If not, can I have your approval, please? Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. I think, Sabrina, I can continue with 16.2. For your information, this week the board approved the new Nations Cup rules and the World Cup rules. There are only minor changes. They are approved by the board and they will be maybe already or soon on the internet. That's point 16.2. 16.3, the rules. Like in jumping, we discussed it yesterday in the rules session. There were no comments, no questions yesterday. And I hope you had a nice evening and you have no new questions. If not, no questions, remarks. Already a green card. Olaf, wait. Okay, now I'm happy to see the green card. So can I have your approval for the rules? Thank you very much. Anybody against? Seems not. Any abstentions? Thank you very much for dressage this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving on to eventing, David O'Connor. David, the chair.
Thank you. So, Mr. President, Madam Secretary General, to all delegates, eventing is in a place where it's still very good and healthy. With an increase of competitions of 11% this year, with a growing side at the lower level, with 7% increase just in the two-star level, 17% growth in the two-star level. So eventing is in a very strong place in its growth around the world. The programs this year were a lot about the events getting ready for the Olympic Games. They had a very, very successful Pan American Games, thanks to all of the people that put a tremendous amount of effort to put a good competition, which I think will leave a legacy in Peru. I hope to use that we can all use. And the Olympic test event in Tokyo, which is mainly wrapped around the eventing sport, where we test the systems, that was very successful, and there's no question that it was a very, very impressive site for not only just, two sites, the main site that where just everybody will be, and also the cross country. And I think the Japanese Olympic Committee have to be seriously congratulated for the quality of what the facility is going to be when we go to Tokyo this year. One of the biggest programs that we have is the Nations Cup. Was very, very successful this year. It was mainly because it was an Olympic qualifier, or it allowed for it to be an Olympic qualifier at the end of the year. And so not only was it very well supported all around, but it also, we had 3 times where we tested the Olympic format. And that, giving that, we've done it 5 times over the last 2 years. I think that has allowed people to really be able to buy into the system, understand the system, understand what the changes are in this Olympic Games compared to last Olympic Games. So it's been quite successful. Risk management continues to be a high priority for eventing. And because of the programs that have been going on for the last 10 or 15 years, and with quite a lot what's going on now, still we have a reduction in total horse falls. And that is a continuing idea that has shown that the programs that we put in forward and put into place are working. And the horse falls have reduced and almost by half in the last 10 years. And that has been the main priority of what eventing has done with this risk management program. You'll see in the rules this time, for the first time, we actually have a frangible technology rule in place for mandatory use of frangible technology in the 4 and the 5-star and championships, with fences that can take that technology. And also, in the rules, not just the guidelines, a mandatory changing of shapes of fences. And these are all positive steps, I think, for our risk management program. Continuing on our education of not only risk management, we have a national safety officer program every year where the countries once a year get together and exchange ideas. But every 4 years we expand that from not just the national safety officers from every single country, but also we have a summit, a sports summit. And we invite top riders from around the world, top officials from around the world, organizers, and bring the sport together. And that meeting is going to be in Aintree in England in the 3rd week of January. The last, excuse me, sorry. The last one that we had was in Punchestown 4 years ago. So every 4 years we have this sports summit. And we're really looking forward to have the ability to talk about the direction of eventing and not just the specifics. So the report is in front of you. Are there any questions about anything that are in the report? Seeing none, could I have an approval for the report as presented to you? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Also, the rules, again, we had in the rules session, it was put forward, all of them. There didn't seem to be any questions from yesterday. Are there any further questions now? Anybody come up with some? Seeing none, again, our approval of the rules for eventing for 2020. Okay, any against the rules for 2020? And any abstentions? Thank you very much. Madam Secretary.
Thank you very much, David. We will now have Amanda Bond, the Chair of Paradressage, address you. Thank you.
Good morning. Mr. President, Madam General Secretary, dear friends from national federations from around the world, I must begin by thanking you for agreeing to the change in statutes, because that allows for para-equestrian to have a seat at the board table and participate in the discussions that affect our community. Para-equestrian is an important discipline, a Paralympic discipline, and now this importance has been further recognised. Now, I'm delighted to present you with the report from our technical committee, which you have in your papers. Now, you will see from the report that we've had a 10% increase in athlete numbers in 2019. But it's our ambition that we must grow much further, as 10% is not enough. We held a very successful forum in France earlier in the year, and with the help of our stakeholders, we've drafted a number of initiatives to focus on growth. We're in the process of drafting our 4-year plan, which includes a full review of our competition structure, looking at how we can attract new nations, how we attract entry-level sport, and more young people. Classification of our athletes is another very important topic, with a review needed to ensure our ongoing inclusion in the Paralympic programme. So our ongoing 3-year research programme continues, and that will then inform our review of the classification rules and process in the coming years. And I'm very grateful to all those national federations who support para-athletes, but I urge those of you that are yet to develop this wonderful discipline in your countries to please approach me and our committee to find out more about our discipline and see how we can help you to develop. So you have the report in front of you. Can I ask if there's any questions? No, in which case, may I seek your approval for the report? Any against? And abstentions? Thank you very much. So I move ahead now and look to the rules for 2020. Firstly, we have the para-dressage rules. And yesterday these were presented to you and no questions were raised. But can I ask if there's any last-minute questions from overnight? Okay, given that, please can I ask for your approval for the para-dressage rules 2020? Any against? And abstentions? Thank you. And secondly, then, we present to you the classification rules. May I ask again, any questions? So may I seek your approval for the classification rules? Thank you. Any objections? And abstentions? Thank you very much. So this concludes all matters in relation to para-equestrian. So I must finish by thanking all of those that work with me on the technical committee and also to the FEI headquarters, to Bettina and her team, who just work so hard for our discipline, and we cannot thank you enough. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Amanda, and congratulations, and thank you for the very hard work. And also, we are looking forward to very successful Paralympic Games in Tokyo. I'm now going to pass the floor to our Secretary General to deal with point 19, driving, because I have to excuse our very good friend and chair of the driving committee who could not be with us for a medical reason, but I am happy to say that he's fine, he's good, and he looks forward to continue his work. But it's not an ideal world, and sometimes people have to excuse themselves, even if their heart is fully with us. So, but Sabrina, I would be grateful if you could take his point.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So you will have received the chair's technical committee report. I'm sure you read it. May I ask for your approval, please, on his report? Okay. Anyone against? Any abstentions? So the report is approved. There were no decisions taken by the board. So, however, there was a decision, as you saw at the rules session yesterday, there is a modification being put forward for the para-driving rules, excuse me. And that is concerning Article 945.2.16, outside assistance. As you saw yesterday, We are taking out the event organizer from the sentence. It should not be the event organizer that decides this, but rather the technical delegate that has the right to disapprove the position of a groom on the vehicle. So this will now be put forward. With this amendment, we'd like you to approve the rules for driving. Okay, so we don't have to do a separate vote on this. We're just going to do the whole driving, if that's okay with you. So may I ask for your approval, please? Many thanks. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Then the driving rules are approved. So what I would suggest is that we now break for a coffee break for 20 minutes, and then we will tackle the rest of the agenda. The endurance until lunchtime. So we'll be back at 20 to 11. Okay, 20 minutes. Thank you very much.
Давай, наверное, стоп, наверное, что это, ребят, что мы это не будем? Раз, два, три, стоп. Я в стоп, ребят. Да, 20 минут перерыва. А что писать, здесь же не ничего. Сейчас я гляну, что пойдем на кофе попьем. Да, я чуть нагнул ее там. Короче, вот условно вот без трибуны, вот. Посмотри, еще шире, допустим, да? Покрупнее, смотри, вот. Допустим, так, и мы пока это решаем. У меня чуть там завальчик был.
Потому что
Ага. Да нет, такой дистанции тут что у вас не вытворяет? Я тебе говорю, да. Не упасть.
clock is ticking away. He means business, this man. Brilliant turn. He's quicker, up on the clock by 7 seconds. This is going to be very quick indeed. 2:43, he's well ahead of the clock. That's gone. He's going to have to go some. Beautiful, absolutely perfect for Branchanol. What an incredible time. What an incredible driving tube by Hexel. That was unbelievably brilliant.
Again, a wonderful video to wake you up for the next part of this General Assembly. We are now at point 20 of the agenda. Point 20 of the agenda being endurance rules modifications. First of all, I would like to take the occasion again, and they are in front here in the first row, to thank and congratulate the Temporary Endurance Committee for the great work they have done. And today is a very special day, not only for endurance, but it's also the birthday of Sarah Coombs, the chair of the Endurance Temporary Committee. So now I could try to get this done very quickly, because I know for sure what birthday present she would like to have today. I think that's very obvious. But as I said before, the world is not perfect, so we will take you to this point in the best way possible from also a governance perspective. You all know that we had a session yesterday to discuss and to again open the debate on these proposed rules. And again, I would like to congratulate everybody by the way how this debate was operated and done, and the high level of interventions. And one of the purposes of this session was also to identify the votes that we will take today. So today is not any longer for discussion. We did that yesterday. At the end of the meeting, I gave an overview on what we are going to vote on today, and there were no comments. And with regard to the voting procedure, this is not a contested election, so it will be a vote by show of hands. And there is, of course, a possibility to ask for a secret ballot, but then you need 25% of the members present, and I think we can be open and transparent. I think everybody knows more or less what they are going to vote for. I also could eventually decide to do one or another vote by electronic voting if it is really unclear what the majority is. What we absolutely want to avoid, and I will promise to do my best, is to have a situation like the one we had in Uruguay 2 years ago. So I would like also to invite the scrutineers to be alert, to be in position, so that you can identify if we have a majority for one point or not. So we will have 4 types of votes today. We have, as I mentioned yesterday, a number of amendments, corrections that are supported by the Endurance Temporary Committee. We have also yesterday identified some amendments that are proposed by the national federations and which were obviously not supported by the ETC. We will have a vote then on the implementation date which is part of the transitory measures in the rule, is a part of the rule. And then we will have an overall vote on the rules, with, of course, taking in mind the eventual amendments that have been approved before. So this is the procedure. So let's start with the amendments supported by the ETC, the Endurance Temporary Committee. There are 4. There is a correcting error for the novice qualifications. There is one on the distance for 3-star championships. There is one on the consecutive requirements for qualification procedure. And there is also a correction to be done with regard to the number of 2-star you need to do to qualify for a 2-star championship. So if we go to the first one, and again, these are the ones that are supported by the Endurance Temporary Committee. Here, this was omitted in the draft. It disappeared, lost in transition, but it's clear that the horses and athletes must have successfully completed, not necessary as a combination, 2 novice rides of 40 till 79 kilometers in one day, and 2 novice rides, and then the text continues, of 80 or 100 kilometers, each restricted to a speed of not more than 16 kilometers an hour. And then the required 80, 100 kilometer rides may be completed either, and the text goes on. So this is supported by the Endurance Temporary Committee. So can I ask who is in favor of this amendment? There. Thank you. Who is against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Show it. Keep it for a moment. Yes. Okay, thank you. Who is abstaining? Nobody. I think can ask the chair of the scrutineers. It's clear that there is a majority to approve this amendment. Thank you very much. Then we move to the second amendment supported by the Endurance Temporary Committee, and this was clearly to make sure that 3-star senior championship is 160 kilometers in one day, and there is no option to have it as from 140 kilometers or plus. So that's clear, I believe. Can I have your votes? Who is in favor of this amendment? Please, scrutineers. Look. Yes. Who is against? Six, 7, 8. 8 against. Who is abstaining? Nobody. Then I think the chair of the scrutineers can agree that this is approved. Next amendment supported by the Endurance Temporary Committee is regarding the qualification for 2-star and 3-star. This is the discussion to take out the consecutive. So the new wording affects 2 articles in these rules. Article 833.3, where it says now athletes and horses are qualified to compete at the CEI 2-star level once they have successfully completed 2 out of 3 consecutive CEI 1-stars within a 2-year period. And we have the same provision in paragraph 3, for 3-stars, athletes and horses may only compete at the CEI 3-star level if they are qualified as a combination. Oops, no, no, go back. Sorry. Okay. As a combination, to qualify, they must have successfully completed 2 out of 3 consecutive CEI 2-star, and then it continues, all within a 2-year period, and then CEI together as a combination within a 2-year period. The combination ride may be one of the 2 qualifying successful rides, and this is new. And then a third point, again, it's the same principle, is in Article 136.1.2b, where you then see that additional CEI is to be successfully completed and combination requirements. There it is now 2 out of 3 consecutive CEI 1-star or higher, including 1 in a combination. This is a whole concept which affects 3 provisions in 2 articles. So, can I have your vote for this? Who is in favor of this principle affecting these 3 articles? Thank you. Who is against? Let's see, 15 against, but still there is a majority. The chair of the scrutiny is. Yeah, thank you. Who is abstaining? Nobody. 1, oh sorry, 2 abstentions. So, but still then this is approved. Then we move to the 4th point of the 4th amendment supported by the Endurance Temporary Committee. This is the qualification for 2-star senior championships. This is a correction. It's 2 CEI 2 stars or higher, including 2 in a combination instead of 4. So who is in favor of changing this from 4 to 2? Who is, thank you, who is against? $16 I count against. But still there is a majority, so this is approved. Sorry, are there any abstentions? Excuse me, there was a gentleman. Any abstentions on this point? No? Then I thank you. Then we move back to the second part of this vote, which is amendments requested by the national federations. 2 are regarding the minimum weight, and 2 are regarding the need for combinations to qualify in different setups. So, we start with the first one, and again, this is proposed by national federations but not taken on board by the Endurance Temporary Committee. So it is basically the first one concerns Article 805.1, where it is proposed to move the minimum weight of 70 kilos for 2 stars from 75 for 2 stars to 70 kilos for 2 stars. So the question is, who is in favor of this amendment? Yes. Thank you. Who is against? Please hold it up so the scrutineers can do their work. I think about 22, yes, but still there is a majority, so the weight, minimum weight for a 2-star is now 70 kilos instead of 75 kilos. Sorry, abstentions. Yeah. Are there any abstentions on this? No? Okay, thank you for the avoidance of any doubt. Good. The next one is about the minimum athlete weight, and there we have identified yesterday that there are basically, in the end, 3 proposals. Of course, the first proposal is the one where the temporary committee proposes in the rules the 60 kilos for juniors and young riders. Then there is a proposal from National Federation to bring this to 55. And then there is a proposal to have no minimum weights in these events. So the question is here, so we are not going to vote on the proposal of the temporary committee, which is 60 kilos, because this will be voted on if you approve the rules. We are voting on the proposed deviations from it. Once we have, so there are 2 scenarios. Either one of these two proposed amendments, 55 of no weight, does not get a majority, then it will remain 60, and this will be put forward for the final vote as last point of this intervention. If, however, one of these two proposals, or 55 or no weight, gets a majority of this General Assembly, then of course this will be included and we will not vote any longer on 60 kilos at the end of this session. So I hope everybody understands. ETC says 60, some say 55, some say no weight. We are not voting on the 60. We will now first vote on the proposal to bring the minimum weight back to 55. And afterwards, if this would not get a majority, we will vote on the complete removal of minimum weight for the young riders and juniors. So, everybody understood the procedure? There are no procedural questions to be answered. Vicky Glynn has a question, yes. New Zealand.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I wonder if it would be of merit to consider the 0 proposal before the 55, because there may be some countries who would not choose 55, would rather choose 0, but would vote for 55 if 0 was not approved.
I think I can agree with that, but Quentin Simonet from France.
Yeah. Maybe the best is to do with 3 choices and to vote with the secret ballot 1, 2, 3, and then there is no doubt.
No, because we are not voting here about proposals that are laid down in the proposed regulations. We are only proposing here on amendments, but I can agree with the proposal from New Zealand to say we are going to vote first on the most far-going proposal, which is no minimum weight at all. If that would not succeed, we will vote on the 55, and if none of this gets it, then it will remain 60 to be voted on at the end. So, very clear, you see the slide here, it's not rocket science. So here the proposal is to have no minimum weight at all for the young rider and junior categories. Who is in favor for no minimum weight for young riders and juniors? Please show your hands. Now you need to count very carefully, so keep your cards high, clear, especially those who have more than one card. Show clearly how many you have. The red ones, not yet. If you are against, we will do that afterwards. So no red ones, only the ones that are in favor. And high and over, that our scrutineers can see. So the scrutineers counted this one. We will wait with the result until the full vote has been done. Okay. Thank you. Then the ones that are against, you agree, Mrs. Chair of the scrutineers? You are ready now to take the no votes? Okay. Who is against this minimum weight? Please hold your cards up, clearly visible. I know it's a bit of gymnastic in the morning. Also, Ben, high enough. I know you're a sportsman, so it should not be that complicated. And then we wait until the scrutineers have counted. Okay, the noes have been noted, Mrs. Chair. And then we have to ask for the abstentions, so it's not over yet. So who is abstaining on this one? That's clear, nobody. So maybe you can give us the result of this vote. Okay. So the vote is clearly noted. 40 are in favor and 60, was it 68? 63 are against, so this amendment is rejected. So that's clear. So then we move to the second amendment, who is less far going. So who is then in favor of changing it from 60 kilos, which is proposed by the temporary committee, to 55? Scrutineers, are you ready? So who is in favor to bring it to 55 kilos? Please show your green cards, if this is the case. No red cards, no contact. Red is afterwards. High enough? Oh, gymnastics, keep it high. Okay, but I think it's not that complicated. Okay, I think they have registered all the votes. Thank you. Who is against bringing it from 60 to 55? Who is against? Please, high up the cards that they can count. Okay, you have the count. Then any abstentions? Show it 1, 2, 3. 4. Okay. Bear in mind that you can only vote once, not yes, no, abstention. Okay, thank you very much. I think we have a result here. Oh, that's a very close vote. 53 are in favor, 57 are against. So this amendment is also rejected, and it is the proposal of 60 kilos initially in the rules that will be put forward for a final vote in the rules. We come now to point 7, the 7th amendment introduced by national federations, and this is the first one where we talk about the qualification as a combination. So there is a proposal to modify Article 838 3.3 for CEIs 3 stars to say that to qualify they must have successfully completed 2 out of 3 consecutive CEI 2 stars and 1 CEI 2 star together as a combination, except for athletes with elite status, and the elite status is defined in Article 861. So here there is a proposal that elite athletes do not need to qualify as a combination to participate in a CEI 3 star. And not necessary to mention that this is not supported by the temporary committee. Everybody understands? So who is in favor of this amendment? Please, scrutineers, take your positions. Keep your card. Thank you. Then you have a score there. Then I will ask you, for those who are against this amendment, please raise your cards. Okay, your Counted. Any abstentions? No? Then we will have a result here. So we have a majority here who approved this amendment, 73 in favor and 55 against. So this amendment is accepted and will then be brought forward for the final vote at the end of this session. Then now we move to the second amendment that was proposed regarding qualification as a combination. And it was a proposal from the French Federation, I remember, 3-star championships. They propose to have as a qualification 2 CEI 3 stars, including 1 in combination instead of 2 in combination. Mr. Simonet, you want to say something?
Just as a clarification, this is from the European Working Group. So it means more countries.
Sorry for this, but apparently you are a very good ambassador of the European Equestrian Federation and the specialist in the field. Anyway, so we understand that now. So there the proposal again is to bring it from 2 in a combination, qualifying as a combination from 2 to 1 as a combination. So who is in favor of this amendment? Okay. Thank you. Then we will now ask who is against this amendment. Please raise it. Stay with us. I think it's pretty clear. Okay. Thank you. Any abstentions? No? Then I think that it's quite obvious that this amendment is also approved, so it's also accepted. We will have the detailed vote. 81 in favor and 25 against. So also this amendment is accepted and is now incorporated in the version for the rules. Then we come to an important part of these rules. It is the date of implementation, and there are 2 options. There is one option which is supported by the board and the staff of the FEI, is to start with everything on the 1st of July 2020, start with the full implementation, to give the time to prepare and to do everything in one thing, to have the education, to have the IT system ready, to have the education of the officials, not to have problems with the schedules and so on. And there is the proposal supported by the temporary committee, is to start with a partial implementation as from the 1st of January 2020, but knowing that the board will have to determine, together with FEI headquarters, what provisions will be then implemented on the 1st of July, as it is not possible to implement them already as of 1st of January. So a bit more of the detail is that when it is full implementation as from the 1st of July, then the rules as have been proposed, we have seen that there are some empty fields in these rules, and there they would then be filled in that 1st of July 2020, and you would have Article 842, transitional provisions, where it is clear full implementation 1st of July 2020. The second proposal, supported by the temporary committee is clear. 1st of January 2020 for those provisions that are capable of immediate implementation. And then we will need a mandate from you, because we cannot understand today and submit to you a full list of all the articles, what is going to be implemented on 1st of January and what's going to be implemented later on in July. We need to study this, and the board at that time will be asked, because we cannot call for a General Assembly in a month time to submit this proposal to you. So we will then have to give a mandate to the board to determine the transitional arrangements, including identifying the provisions not capable of immediate implementation, finalizing the transitional provisions in the endurance rules, and implementing the provisions not capable of immediate implementation on 1st of July. To say our lawyers have all been looking at that, and there is then a bit of work to be done. Sorry, going too far. So I think it is clear, one proposal 1st of July, the other proposal starting on 1st of January with the things that can be done, and then implement later on 1st of July, the things that cannot be done as from the 1st of January. I will now ask you to vote on first on the proposal for full implementation of everything on 1st of July, and then if that would not be accepted, we will have a vote on the other one. So, who is in favor of full implementation of the rules on the 1st of July 2020? Please show your cards. Scrutiny is count. The no votes is later on. So please show clearly your cards that they can count that your vote is casted. Okay. You ready? Okay, thank you. Then you can put this down. Then I think there are no options here. Voting against this is basically voting in favor for for the implementation 1st of January for what is possible, so for the second proposal. So I will ask you, on start yet, now to ask who is against this, knowing that if you are against 1st of July, that this means that it will be then the other alternative proposal. So who is against this proposal of full implementation 1st of July 2020? Please, high enough, this is important. Our staff gets a bit nervous. Okay. Thank you. So that will be a close race, I think.
Abstentions?
Yes, sorry, abstentions. That's for no implementation at all. 3. Okay, good. So can I have the result, please? Okay. As I said, it's a close race. So we noted already 3 abstentions. 49 in favor of 1st of July full implementation, 55 against, and consequently for implementation 1st of January 2020 with partial implementation of the rules, and as I explained, with a mandate to the board then to identify what is implemented 1st of January and what has to wait later on. So this amendment has then, or this proposal, because it's not really an amendment, has been accepted. So now I'm going to ask you to have the approval of the endurance rules with the following understanding. First of all, the 4 amendments that have been proposed by the Endurance Temporary Committee have been accepted, and they are now in the document for the vote. There are 2 amendments proposed by the national federations that have been accepted. These are the 2 amendments regarding qualification as a combination. The one on 838 3.3 that athletes with an elite status are exempted from the obligation to qualify as a combination in a CEI 3-star. I hope it said rightly. And the second one is on 836.1.2 that for everybody, for qualification for 3-star senior championships, there is only one performance at the 3-star to be done as a combination, only one. That's the ones that have been accepted, and then for the implementation. This is not a change to the proposed rules because 70 was accepted. So, and then, last but not least, last vote, implementation 1st of January for the rules, except for the rules that cannot practically be implemented, and there the board will have to identify what it is, and they will have to work very hard and very fast, because if it is for implementation 1st of January, we need to inform everybody, we need to move fast. Because this is clearly what we are now going to vote for. So, very important vote. Scrutineers, are you ready? Everybody ready? Everybody has identified that they have the right color card in their hand. They know they can only vote once. So, please, who is in favor of the approval of the new endurance rules? Yes, I think the scrutineers have casted your ballots. So then the question is, who is against the new endurance rules? Yes, thank you. Any abstentions? No? Then I would like to have the result on this vote. And how many abstentions? No abstentions, okay, good. So, we have, I think, an overwhelming majority. 94 national federations voted in favor, 19 voted again. I'm very happy to say that the new endurance rules with the amendments have been approved, accepted. Thank you very much. So, Sarah, I think in the end you get your birthday present. So maybe now we can sing happy birthday to you. Thank you also to the scrutineers. You did a wonderful job, and thank you for having allowed us to do this procedure in a relatively correct way. So thank you, and I'm very happy, Mrs. Secretary General, to pass the floor now to you.
And congratulations, Mr. President. Well done. So now we will move on to vaulting, and I'd like to invite the vaulting chair to please address the Assembly. Thank you very much. John Eccles.
Good morning, Mr. President, Madam General Secretary, board members, dear delegates. Firstly, I'd like to say a very warm thanks to the FEI for all the support they've given vaulting over the past year. especially for the efforts they did on our behalf to try and get vaulting included in the Youth Olympics. So thank you very much indeed, because you've put a tremendous amount of effort in on our behalf at all levels. As with para-dressage, vaulting is also honoured to be included as a board member, so thank you again for that. Thank you indeed. Moving on to my report. My report has been circulated, but there are a couple of points I would like to just bring forward. Those of you who have read the report, which I'm sure is everybody, you will see we have made some changes and have had a working group working on the horse score. This will make it our sport even easier to understand from a lunger's point of view, a coach's point of view, and of course from a judging point of view. I have to also highlight we've had some excellent support from FEI Solidarity, and we've just run our first level 2 coaching course in Finland. So thank you very much, FEI Solidarity, for that. So without going into any more detail about the content of the report, are there any questions regarding the report from the Vaulting Committee? In that case, can I ask those to vote for it, please? Thank you. Are there any against? Do we have any abstentions? Okay, moving on to the vaulting rules. Again, these have been previously circulated, and they're there. Most of it is a small tidying up and clarifications. There is one exciting new class which we have in there, which is a young vaulters class for 16 to 21-year-olds. But again, I'm sure you've all taken this on board. Are there any questions with regard to the vaulting rules? In that case, can I ask for your approval, please? Thank you. Do we have any against? And any abstentions? Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to invite Sven Friesike, the chair of the Reining Committee, to address the Assembly. Sven.
Dear President, dear Secretary General, dear delegates, you can't imagine how happy I am today. You made it happen. Thank you for your votes. Thank you for your commitment to reining.
And it's even not your birthday.
Today, that was the initial start. The spark, and now it will be a lot of work because we've got a 4-year plan to implement to fulfill our objectives, even the KPIs implemented into this 4-year plan, and therefore I need you too. I need the support of the national federations interested in reining, already active in reining. Therefore, I would already like to thank you in advance for your cooperation. The decision you took today, this is a big chance for the sports, it's a decision for the sports, and it's commitment to the athletes. They love the sport and to compete in FEI events. Now I would like to come to the official part, means the report of the Reining Committee, which has been in as an annex with the documents. Therefore, I would like to ask you if we can approve this report. Is there anybody against? Abstentions? Thank you. And yeah, I'm looking forward for a great future in FEI reining. Thank you.
So now we move on to point 23, which is the nomination committee reports. And here I invite Betty Waits, its chair.
Mr. President, Madam Secretary General, wonderful members of the Bureau, and certainly the delegates that have come from near and far to attend this ceremony. It's very important we show enthusiasm for the work that people do on this very, very difficult situation. And we have to also thank the staff of the FEI who put in so much. Yes, they do get paid, but you have to thank them for the work they put in. Thank you very much. We had an in-person meeting on the 5th and 6th of June, and that was not the beginning of the work. That was a culmination, because at home, you have to read through. It was, I think, 32 candidates for 19 positions to be elected by the General Assembly, and 26 candidates, which were for 12 positions appointed by the board. Don't joke, these letters are not funny. Actually, they're very funny. And the CVs are very interesting to read, trust me. Anyhow, with the support of a wonderful committee of the nomination group, we have each group with one member on it. And it makes very interesting the thinking behind the decisions, who we think we should recommend. Please remember, we don't choose these people, you know. We just recommend. So you please realize that if you put us in place, trust us. Okay. The decisions of the board and the General Assembly will come forward to you with who they decide, if they like the color of their hair, or if they're going gray, or if they're too young. But there was one situation in the nomination committee where Group 4 had 2 members that wished to do it. They were not bad looking, but it was only yesterday in our group meeting that we decided one was better looking than the other. So I would just put you forward to our group chair, Mr. Mark Samuel, as he had the last call, obviously.
As always, it's a challenge to follow up on Betty, but and we are a very attractive group, I must say. But we had a unique situation in our group this year. Normally we have one nomination for the nomination committee position. I suppose because Betty did such a great job as nomination chair, and now she's stepping down as both chair and our member, that everybody wanted to fill her role. So we actually had 4 candidates out of our group. So it was a contested election. We then went through the proper FEI procedure. We asked for powers of attorney. Unfortunately, only 6 of our 10 countries returned those powers of attorney in time, so they were the only ones eligible to vote. On the first vote, we were able to reduce the candidates from 4 to 3. On the next 3 votes, we remained deadlocked. So we ended up at the end of the procedure with 3 candidates, and there was no other way for us to address that through that process, which would require normally the General Assembly floor then to select a candidate. And of course, you would not know those candidates, and we felt it was more appropriate for us to give you a further indication of our wishes within the group. So we did hold a straw vote within our group meeting 2 days ago, and I'm pleased to say that one of our candidates received 6 out of the 10 votes, and the other 2 candidates each received 2. Mr. Paul Parich from Bermuda was the candidate that received 6, And it would be our request, if you would be so kind, to select him on our behalf to be our nominations member. Thank you.
Okay, now I think there's some nonsense I hear going around about tribunal committee. What kind of foolishness is this? You make us nomination committee. Trust us, we have gone into these people thoroughly. Why do you think you know better than us? John, maybe you could... I mean, we need to know, what are we here for? Are we wasting our time?
Betty, I think everybody appreciates the work that you do, and of course, as you say, you have some excellent also members on the nominations committee that vetted each candidate. So there is no issue there. Thank you.
Because I mean, you have to write weak section, strong section, suitable section. Hell, we've done all of that homework. Okay. So try and trust us, yes. Okay?
Thank you, Betty.
Before leaving this stand, I feel without any doubt, being the age I am and wrinkly as I am, this has been one of the best, without any doubt, General Assemblies I've attended. And the fun we have had, I have to thank the President for the great effort they have put into it. I know this is the President's thing to say, but, you know, you'll allow me. And I thank you very much, anyhow, on behalf of all of us.
Thank you, Betty, for your very colorful report. We always appreciate it. So, ladies and gentlemen, then we will move on to the election part of the program. We will move to 24.1, which is the elections of the regional group chairs, the candidates that have been put forward by their groups. So the first chair to be elected by you is for the position of board member representing Group 3. Currently occupying the position is Sadir Mamitov from Kyrgyzstan, and the candidate that was proposed by the Group 3 is Marina Sechina from Russia. This would be for the incoming term of 2019-2023. May I therefore ask for your approval for the election of Marina Sechina as our new board member? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Congratulations and welcome, Marina. And Sadir, thank you for all the work that you have done with these 4 years that you've been with us. Thank you very much. Then moving on to Group 7. Regrettably, Sheikh Khalid has ended his term with the FEI. So we have His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa from Bahrain. And the candidate being proposed by Group 7 is Sami Al-Duhami from Saudi Arabia. The term is also for 2019-2023. And as I mentioned before, this is the sole candidate being put forward to you for your approval. May I have your approval, please? Anyone against? Any abstentions? We congratulate Sami, and we regret to see Sheikh Khalid leave. Unfortunately, Sami was unable to join us, but he will be, of course, in our next teleconference in December. Then we move on to the driving committee chair. And there was only one candidate being put forward, and that is for Mr. Karoli Fugli. He was re-eligible. May I ask for your approval, please, for the election of Karoli? Any objections? Any abstentions? It's good to keep you, Karoli. Then we move on to the Audit and Compliance Committee member. There was only one candidate also being put forward, and that is for Vicky Glynn, who was re-eligible. Vicky from New Zealand. May I ask for your approval on the election of Vicky, please? Any objections? No? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Vicky. Then moving on to the FEI Tribunal, we would need to replace outgoing chair Mr. Henrik Arle from Finland. The candidate that has been put forward and has been vetted by the nomination committee is Jose Alfonso Rodriguez from Mexico, and it would be for the term of 2019-2023. May I ask for your approval, please? Any objections? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Well, then, one abstention. Okay, we note. Any further? Okay. Well, then we're happy to also congratulate Mr. Jose Alfonso Rodriguez. So now we move on to the FEI Tribunal members. And as you know, there are 7 open positions. We would like to have staggered terms for these that are going to be elected today. 3 members would be for the term 2019-2023. 2 members would be for the term 2019-2022, and 2 members would be for the term 2019-2021. To determine the staggered terms after after this election has taken place during lunchtime, we will conduct what's it called again? A draw, thank you, with the nominations committee, and we will inform you who got which term afterwards. But to run us through the process, I have asked Michael to speak to you. Michael?
Thank you, Sabrina. So as it's a contested election, we are going to use the voting devices that you have received. So maybe if Guillaume, you can show. So yes, here you have. So you will have the candidate's number appearing on the screen, and in order to vote, you need to press the relevant number and press valid, and then that means that you cast your vote. You can make corrections provided the vote is still open, so then you press correction and then you type again the number. You can also formally abstain if you wish by pressing 0. And for your information, so there will be 7 positions, and we will do for each position a separate vote. And if the candidate with the most number of votes, not with a simple majority, with the most number of votes, that will be elected. And if there is a tie, then we remove the candidate with the least number of votes for the position and then reinstate. So there will be a minimum of 7 votes, so be patient in order to do that. So I may ask the scrutineers to probably come here so that we may proceed with the vote.
There is just a question from Haiti, I believe. He'd like maybe a little clarification. Could I have a microphone here to the gentleman in the middle from Haiti?
Thank you. Just a clarification. Mr. Alfonso Rodriguez have just been elected president of the tribunal.
Yes.
So he has to still be part of the candidate?
No, that was meant. That's why he's in brackets. As he was elected as chair,
so we have to be clear that his name will be raised, and so nobody should vote for him.
Maybe Guillaume and Mr. Modou, you can switch to what you will see on the screen for the elections. Can you put Guillaume? Here we go. So these are the 8 candidates that have put forward. So that's the numbers that you will need to vote for. I forgot to mention that if you have an issue while voting, because there are 8 candidates, if you press 9, you will have an error. No, but if there is something that is going wrong, please raise your hand or stand, and then either I or the scrutineers can come and help you if you have a problem with the voting device. And then Sabrina will open the vote, and then we will give you approximately 1 minute. And then we'll see also the activity, and then she will mention the vote will be closed in a few seconds. So then for the one that still haven't voted can still do it. And then she will formally close the results, and then the scrutineers will check that the results are being made, and then they will give you the results to Sabrina. Are there any questions?
Sorry, because just to be so that we're all on the same page. The first time around, you will vote for your favorite candidate. Okay? Yes. One candidate.
Yes, it's for position one. There are 7
Position
positions.
one?
Now it's position one. You vote for your favorite candidate, and that candidate will be elected. Then it will be position 2, and then we vote, and so on. And there will be 7.
Just so one at a time. Okay.
No questions? Thank you very much.
Okay. So we will now open the vote. So 5 seconds more to cast your vote. The vote is closed. Okay. So the candidate who received the most amount of votes was Mohammed Al-Saberi from the UAE with 31 votes. You can see the amount of votes. So his name will be removed from the list, and then the others will remain, and then you vote the next one. Okay. So now we will open the vote. The vote is open. Five seconds. The vote is now closed. The candidate with the most votes on this second ballot is Constance Pompidou from France. Congratulations, Constance. The vote is now open. We are about to close the vote. The vote is closed. Thank you. So the candidate with most votes is Valérie Hornia from Switzerland. Congratulations. The vote is now open for the fourth candidate. We will be closing the vote. The vote is now closed. And Chris Hudson has now, from New Zealand, has received the majority of the votes. Congratulations, Chris. Okay, so this will be for the fifth position on the tribunal. And the vote is now open. We'll be closing the vote. The vote is closed. Okay, so the fifth candidate with the most vote is Martin Gibbs from Great Britain. Congratulations, Martin. Okay, 2 more to go, huh? So for the 6th position, the vote is now open. The vote will be closing very shortly. The vote is closed. And the candidate with the most votes was Diane Pitts from the United States with 49 votes. Congratulations, Diane. And finally, we get to the 7th and last position. The vote is now open. Okay. So the vote is going to be closed very shortly. The vote is closed. So the last position has been filled with Harveen Toli from Canada with 65 votes. Congratulations, Harveen. So just to recap, so Mohamed Al-Sabari, Martin Gibbs, Christopher Hudson, Valerie Honia, Diane Pitts, Constance Popinou, and then, of course, we have José Alfonso Rodriguez as the chair and Harveen Toli as the members. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your patience as well, but it's worth it. Okay, so now we move on to nominations committee elections. So some of them are very straightforward, and others, as you heard, maybe less. For the nominations committee member for EEF group, we had 2 candidates, but Nalia Stossel from Switzerland. Yes, see it. She was elected by her group, so we'd like to congratulate Nalia on her election as the member for Group EEF. We also have Vivica Ludd, because as you know, EEF has 2 positions. So Vivica Ludd from Sweden, we're very happy to have you also on the nominations committee, Vivica. Then for Group 3, we had Alessia Malchuskaya from Belarus. She's outgoing. And the group has elected Mrs. Olga Kogan from Russia. May we have your election here? Now it gets a little more complicated. This is for Group 4. So you will have heard from our Vice President, Mark Samuel, that there are 3 different candidates, that the group discussed this here in Moscow. I was going to say Bahrain, in Moscow, and would like, their recommendation would be to elect Mr. Paul Perich, but we will do it by secret ballot, I would imagine. Yes, we are going to do it by secret ballot. So, we need the slide on the screen, or not?
Now, just to clarify, because the person didn't receive the 2/3 majority, this is why it's not the sole candidate, but I understand there is a preference within the group, but formally it needs to be an election by simple majority now. That's why you are asked to vote with your voting devices.
So the vote is now open. The vote is going to be shortly closed, and now it's closed. So, Paul Perich has received 57 votes, Emma Seeley 35, and Rossi Brigel from Trinidad Tobago 18. So, Paul Perich, you have been elected as member of the Nominations Committee. Congratulations, Paul. Okay, so if we follow the, thank you very much for everybody, and thank you, congratulations and welcome to the new members of the FEI Tribunal and the Nominations Committee, and thanks a lot for all the work that the others have done on the committees so far. So we will now move on to, we were going to skip 24.7 and 28, 24.8, we'll do it after lunch if you're okay with that. But we will now proceed with point 25. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to re-elect my friend Diego. So we still have some elections to do. So we have Mr. Diego Vallejo. He's currently on the Nominations Committee. He's a representative for Group 5. He is re-eligible. He's being put forward by Group 5 as a Nominations Committee representative. May we have your approval, please, on that one, too? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any objections to that? No. Abstentions? No. Then we move on to Group 7. That's Guillermo Lockhart from Uruguay. Guillermo is also re-eligible. He is the sole... I'm sorry, 6? What did I say? 7. No. Group 6, Guillermo has the support of his group. May I ask you to approve also his election? Thank you. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Guillermo, if you're watching us from Uruguay. Then we have Group 7. We have Hussam is also re-eligible. Hussam Zumit from Lebanon. He has the support of Group 7. May I ask for your approval for his re-election? Libya, yeah. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Hussam. Then we have Group 8. Melanie Chu from Singapore was outgoing. And we have Mrs. Yuri Yagi from Japan. She has the support also of her group. And it's also for the term 2019-2023. May I ask for your approval, please, on her election? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Yuri. And last but not least, we have from Group 9, we have Zero Nickel leaving. And we have Jean-Michel Turlot, who has also received the full support of his group. May I have your approval, please, on the election of Mr. Turlot from Congo? Congo. Oh. Anyone against? Any objections? Congratulations, Mr. Turlot. So now, as I said before, we will tackle 24.7 and 24.8 after the lunch break, if you're okay with that. And we will now present to you the members that have been appointed by the board on the technical committees. And here we should have a slide. This took place at the board meeting earlier this week. So Mr. Ian Baines from Namibia has been appointed, as well as Mark Kohn from Germany, the Veterinary Committee, for the following terms. Then we have on the medical chair, Mr. Mark Hart has been appointed as chair of the medical committee for 1 year, because as you know, we changed the statutes this morning, which means that next year the chair would become, as of 2021, he would become a member of the board, so we have to open up for elections next year. So Mark has been appointed for 1 year, 1 year period. Then we have 2 members that have been appointed, and that's Frans Kazin from Norway and Anna-Louise Mäkinen from Great Britain. Next, we have the jumping committee member, Henrik Ankarkrona from Sweden has been appointed for 2019-2023. In dressage, we have Mr. Patrick Kittel from Sweden. In eventing, we have Mr. Andrew Benny from New Zealand. And for driving, we have Mr. Joran Hutterman from the Netherlands. Then for the reining committee, we have Mr. Filippo Massi Vargas from Italy. And then the chair, John Eccles, has been reappointed for another 1 year period, again, for the same reasons as the chair of the medical committee. And then we have Miss Isabel Parker from the United States, who has been appointed as member of also of the vaulting committee. For Para-Question Committee, we have Michelle Assouline from the United States. And that's it. So many congratulations to all these newly appointed members, and also many, many thanks. To all the past committee members for all their incredible work that they've done on our technical committees. So now we will move on to FEI Solidarity, and here I'd like to give the hand to the President. Mr. De Vos.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General. I made a reference already to solidarity in my introduction. You have also all the report in your documents, and I would like to ask our Solidarity Director, Mrs. Jacqueline Bresson, to take the floor to give some further updates before we reappoint the Solidarity Committee. Thank you. Jacqueline, the floor is yours.
Can I have the... Mr. President, Madam General Secretary, board members, dear guests, and colleagues. FEI Solidarity is the development program for equestrian sports in the FEI and has been launched in 2011. Today, where is FEI Solidarity? Today, I'm happy to inform you that after all these years, we have about 420 national federation projects financed by FEI Solidarity. Some of them have been achieved, some of them will start or are ongoing still. We have 6 FEI Solidarity programs that have been developed by the department to the benefit of the national federations, such as, for example, the coach education program. FEI Solidarity is also about 400 national officials educated via the ECs, or Equestrian Sports Educative Event Program. We have today about more than 3,000 national coaches educated and more than 90 national federations involved in our FEI Solidarity program. Let's go a little bit into details. Over the past years until 2019, in total, 355 projects, national federation projects, have been approved and financed by Solidarity. In September this year, the FEI Solidarity Committee approved another 64 new national federation projects, which are about athletes training in all FEI disciplines, coach ongoing training via scholarships, development of national sports structures and systems, education of national officials through the educative event, fires, grooms ongoing training, and social integrations projects. I would like here to show you some of the projects that that are ongoing in the field currently. So here you have the grooms training in Ethiopia, fires training in Zambia, national competition structure for youth in Israel. This is a project, it's a big project, which is to develop the national structure for youth. We have, I would say, regional development project in Lithuania, youth camp in dressage for the Baltic federations. Educative event in jumping for course designers in Zambia, for judges in vaulting in Mauritius, and a long-term athletes development program for youth in Turkey. And last but not least, a talent identification session in Algeria, which is part of a continental program. The goal is for the continent, the African continent, to have a gold medal at the Youth Olympic Games, team medal. Okay, and as I said at the beginning, FEI Solidarity, it's also programs that the department has developed. So one of these programs, which is very successful, and it's the course for national secretaries and administrators of federations. This is about to understand the position of FEI in the Olympic movement, the services the FEI offers to its members, and their functioning. So the course took
took place this year in October at the FEI headquarters. The group was strong, very, very keen to learn, challenging also. The course was over 5 days. We had 25 participants from 16 national federations, and here I would like to mention that it involves 30 FEI staff members. And this is really a grave achievement, and I would like to thank my colleagues that have been involved. Another very important program at the FEI, it's the FEI Coach Education Program. This year it has impacted 640 coaches in Olympic disciplines, the 3 Olympic disciplines, vaulting and endurance. Over 48 courses and workshops delivered all over the world. This year, what we have done also, we have finalized the level 2 course for vaulting coaches that has been achieved during a tutors course in Finland in October. We are doing the same with para dressage. We are developing the level 1 course for coaches, para, but the course for tutors will take place next year in February in France. A program which has, I would say, even has exploded since we started, it's the equestrian sports educative events. In fact, this is a program that has been developed to help national federations without a system to educate their national officials. It is implemented in all disciplines, even reining, and I'm glad that reining stays. We can continue. And it's really a super program which is also putting, I would say, people from the same discipline together. So as of today, we have a total of 145 officials, national officials that went through this program. And here I just would like to mention that after discussion with the education department, it has been agreed that national federations which have, in the continuity of this educative event, developed their own national education and certification system will be eligible to qualify for equivalency with the FEI Level 2 course or status. So I think this will also motivate you national federations to put in place a national education structure. It gives also more value to these ECs. Then a program that I really love, it's this FEI Retraining of Racehorses program in partnership with Longines. Last year we have educated 7 tutors or technical advisor, advisor, to run this program. We have started in Southeast Asia. The tutors course was held in Singapore. And this year, we have been able to start the program in Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Singapore with our material. We have decided to divide the course in 3 modules, 3 technical modules. So by the end of the year, we will have delivered 12 courses, which means more or less 40 coaches, riders involved. The program continues next year, and I have already heard during the meeting with the groups that some federations are interested to also join this program. And last but not least, the FEI World Challenges. These series are very important for the development of the sport. They are really, I would say, the 5th pillar of the FEI Solidarity Development Program. It's really a tool that can be used by the federations to further educate their national officials. It's also encouraging the coaches. They have this structure, this competition structure, to further train their athletes. It's also an incentive for organizers. It's really a platform where all the actors of development can play. In jumping, we have always, it hasn't really changed. The format is still 3 categories over 3 different technical levels. We have 55 plus countries, a lot of competitions, I might say, 370 competitions, and which means about nearly 2,000 athletes. The dressage series is a bit stagnating, but okay. I think we have this year also decided to use the FEI Dressage World Challenge as a possibility for riders who want to qualify for regional games to have their COC, Certificate of Capabilities, for example, for the Central American and Caribbean Games, because we have the small tour. And also, we have introduced the new logo, so you see that now the series has its own logo, proper logo. Now, I would like to say something here. FEI Solidarity, it's above all about people. It's really about people, and a number of people are traveling over the world assisting our federations. There are, for example, here our FEI president is visiting national federations involved in the FEI Solidarity program, listening to their concern, to their needs, recognizing their performance here at the FEI Jumping World Challenge final in Quito. Then, in terms of technical assistance and support in the field, we have our FEI Development Officer, who is our technical advisor, Jean-Philippe Combouli, who everybody knows. He's traveling with his toolkit, his suitcase full of tools, development tools. He's doing analysis of national federation situation, follow-up on national federation projects. He's involved in coach education, but at level 3, delivering workshops, and of course, very much involved in the development of the national sports structures and system. So he has been traveling to a certain number of countries this year, and he's just coming back from China. We have now China part of our FEI Solidarity program, and we are really looking forward to work with them. And then I would like to conclude, and I can't conclude without mentioning the technical experts who are transferring knowledge in the developing countries. There are more than 60 technical experts that are involved in our program. They speak all languages. I mean, it can be Arabic, can be Spanish, English, French, and Russia. Yes. They are delivering program as FEI, as tutors, delivering coach education. FEI officials involved in the educative events and educating national officials, course designers, judges. There are professional coaches involved in the long-term athletes training projects, and technical experts delivering training for farriers, for grooms, and even we have started now to also deliver course for organizers, which we had the first pilot course in Moldova this year. Tim Hadaway, our director for games, was the course director. Okay, and I would like to conclude, but before concluding, I would like to share with you that here in Moscow today, 91 national federations are attending, out of which 60 are currently benefiting from the FEI Solidarity support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacqueline, and congratulations again to you and your wonderful team. Are there any questions or comments people want to make with regard to FEI Solidarity? I see already somebody here in the middle. Please, can you provide a microphone? It's a representative from Bahrain.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Yes, I take a note of the graph which I saw, the educational event solidarities, which it is very surprised me that the endurance is take very low in the endurance educational solidarities, where we have the big problem and what we saw, there's the hot topic, the disciplines is the endurance, but the educational solidarities, I don't see that they put attentions to these disciplines, which we are needed indeed to upgrade educational in this level, in the level of officials, riders, owners, in different levels. Maybe you can say that the NF, they don't request it, but I believe also that the Endurance Directorate should be also propose something to the NF so they can get the benefit of the solidarity and to apply it. This is very hot topic. I think endurance should be in the top priority of educational event solidarity. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. Jacqueline, can you react?
Yes, I agree with you. We were also surprised. But you know, the educative events, they also include the coaches. And the educative event is delivered by an FEI official to educate the national officials. And there is a coach also here. He's here in order to ensure the technical transfer to make sure that for example, I take the dressage as an example. It's very important to have the coach listening to what the judges are judging, to understand the notes, in order to ensure then the technical coherence. And then, as a coach, after, to be able to translate or to improve the coaching of their people. Now, in endurance, we have created a coach education module. Unfortunately, there are not many federations that have applied for coach education yet. And maybe if I can encourage national federations that have endurance to really apply for coach education, I think then it will follow. But I think what happened today with endurance, now I think it will come. I think now we can develop this education for national officials. I think you have been busy, or federations have been busy with discussing these endurance rules. But yes, we are here, and I encourage you to contact us. I think it's a really good tool. I agree.
Yes, and maybe if I can add something, it's also a relative new tool. It's not so long ago that endurance was included in this type of events. Secondly, this is of course not only with FEI Solidarity that education is taken on board. We have an education department for officials that do that on a regular basis. But we are very happy to take your point on board. And as Mrs. Bressan says, we have also not been pushing this too much over the last 2 years, not knowing where the discipline was going. So now that we have a clarity from this General Assembly what the rules are and what the principles are that we want to live for, the programs can be adapted, can be finalized, as well as in the Solidarity Department, as in our Education Department and in the Discipline Department. So taken on board. And of course, yes, I think we have repeatedly said that one of the important points of implementation of these new rules will be education. So absolutely that this will be one of the priorities, and we invite them, when it comes to solidarity for these educative events, to also for national federations maybe to contact our department. Is here available throughout the whole General Assembly to see how that works, what exactly they are proposing to the national federations. So I would say at the lunch break or at the next coffee break, go all to the department. Our people are here, Jacqueline and Jean-Philippe, and they are ready to give you more details also on the specific endurance education programs. Thank you. Any other points? Yes, Mr. Simonet for France.
Yeah. Just one thing to thank you, Jacqueline and Jean-Philippe, for your great job there. And as it has been mentioned by our colleague, we feel it as a contradiction to have a very low number there for endurance, and when we talk about lack of horsemanship in different places. And so we really encourage the FEI to motivate those countries to use this great tool of this FEI Solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we don't need to reply that. Who else? Alessia from Belarus.
Alessia Machilskaya from the Equestrian Federation of Belarus. So on behalf of our federation, I would like to thank greatly the FEI Solidarity Department for all the work that have been done for so many years, because Belarus has been the part of the development program, and I should say that we benefited a lot since we started. So we had equestrian educative events in Belarus, in eventing and dressage. Also, we had the workshops and courses for coaches, level 1, 2, and 3, workshops for 3. And I should say that not everybody went from the first level to the third level, but I should say that it was a great push for our officials, judges, and our trainers to look for education, to educate themselves, and to try to improve the method of coaching and all the things that are devoted for the development of the equestrian sport. I should say that this is a great job done by the FEI Solidarity Department, and I would like to encourage all the federations to apply for the projects for the next years. Maybe sometimes it seems to be complicated, but it's absolutely not. And I should say that the FEI, Jacqueline and Jean-Philippe are always ready to help and to give the information how to do this. It's not complicated, and it's really great and beneficial for the developed countries like Belarus or any other smaller nations. So thank you so much for your great work, and I would like to encourage the federations again to go forward and to apply for the projects for the next years. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I don't think this needs an answer. Thank you for the statement. We have Senegal who wants to address. Can we have a microphone over there, or you have one?
Je voudrais parler en français, s'il y a la possibilité de traduire.
Évidemment, il y a du traduction dans la salle, donc les délégués peuvent écouter par le système de traduction.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais également m'associer aux nombreuses félicitations faites les uns par les autres au profit de la FEI Solidarité menée par Mme Bresson et M. Jean-Philippe Camboulive. Nous avons eu à bénéficier de cet important soutien dans la formation et je voudrais à ce sujet faire 2 petites propositions. La première va concerner le suivi et évaluation du programme de formation une fois que les coachs auront délivré les cours et les attestations de formation. J'ai eu à visiter 2 pays. J'ai vu que dans un pays, le programme FEI, par exemple, du coaching system a été très bien appliqué dans la continuité. Par contre, dans d'autres pays, ce n'est pas tellement le cas. Et il serait bien, dans le cadre de la continuité, qu'il y ait un suivi, une évaluation du programme de formation après le délivrement des cours. La deuxième proposition concerne Là, je salue vraiment l'idée, les équivalences dans les pays qui ont un programme de formation que la FEI va reconnaître. Là également, je voudrais faire une proposition que les États, les pays et les fédérations concernées puissent faire approuver leur programme, leur modèle par la FEI, ce qui donnerait un meilleur contenu pédagogique pour les pays qui sont candidats à cette formation. Et je pense que les pays de l'Afrique occidentale sont très intéressés par ce système de programmation et d'équivalence. Voilà, je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Sek, Senegal. Just maybe for those who don't have the ears in, the question from Senegal is basically twofold. First of all, they say that some coaches, when they deliver their education projects, do a great job. Others maybe a bit less, and they ask after a course given by coaches that there is also kind of an evaluation. So that's the first question. The second question was a question about equivalence in the programs of education to be recognized by the countries so that they can work with the same targets and the same system. Maybe I can invite Jacqueline to give an answer in French to these two questions.
Je crois qu'ici, pour répondre à cette question, il y a une question que je peux répondre, mais j'aurais besoin de Jean-Philippe pour répondre la deuxième question sur l'équivalence. Notre système est un système d'éducation continue. Ce n'est pas un système de formation professionnelle formelle. Ensuite, c'est vraiment la responsabilité des fédérations de suivre leurs coachs. Les coachs ne sont pas des coachs FEI, ils n'ont pas le label FEI, à ne pas confondre avec l'éducation des officiels FEI. Donc là, vraiment, c'est la responsabilité des fédérations de suivre leurs coachs Sénégal niveau 1, Sénégal niveau 2, Sénégal niveau 3. Après, concernant l'équivalence, on en a déjà discuté, mais je ne pense pas que ce soit possible. Mais là, j'ai vraiment besoin des compétences de notre technical advisor. Est-ce qu'on pourrait avoir un micro, s'il vous plaît?
Can we have a microphone here, please? So the first point our director made was that the follow-up on coaches basically needs to be done by national federations because these are not FEI coaches. They have an FEI rubber stamp, but they are national federation coaches in the end. But I think we can further look at it because I think it's also good to evaluate people. But Jean-Philippe, regarding the point on equivalence on the programs of education.
En fait, seuls les nations, les pays, les gouvernements peuvent donner des équivalences de titres et de diplômes dans un secteur professionnel qui est le coaching. Il ne s'agit pas d'une position de volunteers, il s'agit d'une position professionnelle. C'est la raison pour laquelle la FEI, pas plus qu'une autre fédération internationale, n'a la légitimité pour délivrer une quelconque équivalence. Notre travail est d'élaborer un suivi des contenus techniques pour permettre aux pays d'avoir un guide, un guideline. Mais en aucun cas, nous n'avons la légitimité à délivrer une quelconque équivalence. Quels que soient les bruits que certains peuvent faire courir dans le monde, ce n'est pas notre métier. Par contre, en tant que fédération nationale, vous pouvez, et vous en avez le devoir, mettre en place des formations nationales et délivrer des titres à votre niveau, au niveau national. Voilà ce que je peux vous dire sur le suivi des équivalences. Et je reste à votre disposition pour éclairer, si vous le voulez, votre situation et vous aider. Merci.
Thank you, Jean-Philippe. So, very short. I mean, his French is so eloquent. It's not much better than my French and certainly much better than my English. But just to answer the second question, for those who don't have the ears, the position of Jean-Philippe, and I agree with him, is that it's only governments that can decide on equivalence of certificates, but the FEI can give recommendations on how it should be, but we have not the power, the decision-making power to do this. But if you have more questions or details regarding this subject, you can always address it with Mr. Camboulive or Mrs. Bresson. Thank you. It's really a pleasure for me that we take some time to talk about development and FEI solidarity. Are there any other questions or comments for our department? If not, then I would like to thank Jacqueline and her team, which is a very devoted team, like all the teams in the FEI, by the way. But they have one big advantage over all the other teams. They only bring good news to people, and that's. But then, congratulations. Yes, regarding the appointment of the members of Solidarity, you know that this is an appointment on a yearly basis, that the maximum term is 4 times 1 year. If I can have the slide, and basically it comes to it that we propose no modifications because there are no members that are outgoing. So nothing changes, so can I have your approval for no changes? Please, if you are in favor. Yes, good. Somebody against? No? Any abstentions? No? Then the members of the committee have been confirmed. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. What I would suggest is that we break for lunch, and we are back here at 2:15. Okay? 2:15. All right, 2:15.
Короче, ты пока бери чип, и я свой там потом, да, пока сливай. Да, да, да.